In this episode, we unearth the mystery buried beneath the soil of a tranquil California ranch. This is the mystery of Nadine Jett. She was 65 years old, a devoted family law attorney, and above all, a mother in every sense to the 4 identical sisters that she fostered. Her sudden disappearance in December 2023 would shock a small California community and reveal a web of grief, suspicion, and betrayal that we are only beginning to untangle. So get comfortable as we explore the mystery of Nadine Jett. Before we dive into this enigma, it is important to understand who Nadine Jett really was. She spent nearly 3 decades working as a family law attorney in San Diego County. She was admitted to the State Bar of California in 1997 and built her career representing families during difficult times. But Nadine's most lasting impact was not in the courtroom. It was in her role as a foster mother. Among those she raised were 4 identical quadruplet sisters, Tiffany, Paris, Bianca, and Madison Lucci. The girls entered foster care as young teenagers after years of abuse and instability. Nadine took them in when they were about 14 years old. From that point on, the girls considered her their true mother. The Lucci sisters have openly spoken about the difference Nadine made in their lives. They described her not as a foster parent, but simply as their mum. The woman who gave them love, stability, and a real sense of family after years of uncertainty. In interviews, the sisters emphasised that Nadine was always there for them, guiding them, supporting their education, and helping them build the foundation for their future. They credit her with teaching them right from wrong and with giving them the stability they had lacked in their early years. There was also another foster child who became part of Nadine's household. His name was Cedric von Ferdinand, though the sisters knew him as Charles. Unlike the quadruplets, Cedric's relationship with Nadine would take a very different path. As Nadine grew older, she faced new struggles. In late 2023, she was battling pancreatic cancer, a disease known for its swift progression. At this time, Cedric moved into a new role. He began living on her property in Valley Center and positioned himself as her caretaker. At first, this might have appeared to be a natural extension of family loyalty, an adult foster son stepping up to care for the woman who had once cared for him. But in practice, Cedric became the gatekeeper. The quadruplet sisters found that their contact with Nadine was being restricted. When they asked to speak to her, Cedric told them she was too weak or too tired. When they asked to visit, he actively discouraged it. As you can imagine, as the months passed, the sisters' unease only grew. Then came the shocking claim. Cedric told them that Nadine had died around Easter of 2024 while in Mexico, and that her body had been cremated. But when the sisters asked for proof, no death certificate was ever provided. Their search with the Mexican consulate and crematoriums turned up nothing. No records, no certificate, no proof. And that in itself is very disturbing. This was the turning point. To the sisters, something felt extremely wrong. Their mother had vanished, and the only explanation came from a man they once considered a brother, and he offered them nothing to confirm his story. The unease was not limited to Nadine's daughters. Nadine had a property in Valley Center, consisting of about 20 acres of rural land northeast of San Diego, which had long been her home. But in her absence, neighbours began noticing troubling changes. Reports of disturbances began to surface. Neighbours spoke of squatters on the land, trash piling up, tyres were being dumped, and small fires were being started. What had once been a well-kept ranch showed obvious signs of neglect, a stark contrast to the way Nadine had always cared for it. One neighbour later wrote that Nadine had always been kind and warm, and that her disappearance left a real void in the community. The property itself became a symbol of the chaos that followed her absence. As the months passed, investigators uncovered a startling development. In early 2024, quitclaim deeds were filed that transferred Nadine's Valley Center ranch, along with 2 properties in Los Angeles, into the name of Cedric von Ferdinand. These documents had been notarized by a man named Raymond Joseph Alto, a real estate agent and licensed notary. But there was a problem. The signatures on the deeds did not match Nadine's. Forensic analysis revealed that the fingerprints attached to the notary journal did not belong to Nadine at all. They belonged to Cedric. Investigators also discovered unfiled deed copies bearing what appeared to be Nadine's signature and notary stamps. But these too were believed to be forgeries. Photographs were later produced that show Cedric practicing both his own signature and Nadine's, which appears to be a clear sign of deliberate manipulation. In July 2025, the San Diego District Attorney's Office formally filed felony charges against Cedric von Ferdinand. He was accused of forging legal documents, misusing personal identifying information, filing false instruments where it is alleged that he submitted falsified documents to official officers as if they were genuine, and committed grand theft. With losses exceeding $500,000, the case now carries California's white-collar crime enhancement, resulting in harsher penalties if he is convicted. The filings also named Raymond Alto, the notary who allegedly certified fraudulent paperwork. Alto was charged with forgery and misconduct relating to his notarial duties. For investigators, the charges pointed to more than just careless mistakes. They suggested a deliberate plan by Cedric to gain control of Nadine Jett's estate. It was likely the persistent concerns of Nadine's foster daughters and the troubling lack of confirmation about her status that ultimately pushed investigators to act. The daughters hadn't seen their mother since December 2023, and when Cedric, who was living on her property, told them that she had died and been cremated in Mexico, he refused to provide any death certificate or proof. Their repeated appeals to law enforcement raised enough suspicion that detectives gathered the probable cause needed for a judge to grant a search warrant. On July 16, 2025, sheriff deputies arrived at Nadine's Oak Creek Road property armed with that warrant. Multiple sheriff's vehicles rolled in, followed by homicide detectives, forensic specialists, and canine units trained to detect the scent of human remains. Neighbours who watched on described the atmosphere as tense and unusually quiet as deputies methodically secured the area before the search began. The focus of the search was the land surrounding Nadine's home. Investigators paid particular attention to one spot, a patch of earth Cedric had once pointed out, suggesting that roses should be planted there. Under a white forensic tent, crime scene teams and dogs concentrated their efforts, probing the soil and carefully digging. Every movement was deliberate, every shovel full of dirt heavy with the possibility of a discovery. What once seemed like a harmless idea of planting roses had now become the centre of suspicion. A corner of Nadine's property was now being transformed into the centre of a full forensic dig, where a possible gesture of sentiment now carried a far more chilling significance. Investigators unearthed skeletal remains buried on Nadine's property. On August 21, 2025, the San Diego Medical Examiner's Office confirmed that they belonged to Nadine Jett. As of now, no arrests have been made, and detectives with the Sheriff's Office continue pursuing all leads to determine the circumstances surrounding her death. Nadine's 4 foster daughters were devastated, as they had not seen her since December 2023 when she was battling pancreatic cancer. Tiffany described the confirmation as devastating, yet also a form of closure for the sisters who had spent months fearing the worst. Paris also added, "She was just the best mum we could have ever asked for." By late August 2025, the investigation into Nadine Jett's death had taken several significant turns, yet many questions remained unanswered. Homicide detectives with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department are treating her case as a homicide, though no one has yet been charged directly with killing her. Attention has focused on Cedric von Ferdinand, the man who had been deeply involved in Nadine's affairs. Earlier in 2025, the San Diego County District Attorney charged Ferdinand along with notary Raymond Alto in a complex fraud and theft scheme tied to Nadine's property and estate. As the case moved forward, prosecutors laid out their own theory of how the fraud unfolded. They alleged Cedric forged Nadine's signature on multiple documents, misused her personal identifying information, and filed falsified paperwork with public agencies in an effort to seize her property. Prosecutors argue that this was not a single act, but a series of coordinated deceptions that could have stripped Nadine's estate of assets worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Prosecutors also accused notary Raymond Alto of enabling the scheme by improperly certifying documents that investigators say should have never passed inspection. Cedric von Ferdinand has pleaded not guilty to all charges and remains out of custody as he awaits his preliminary hearing, scheduled for September 5th, 2025. At that hearing, prosecutors will present their evidence and the judge will decide whether there is sufficient cause for the case to proceed to trial. Meanwhile, the Sheriff's Department continues to treat Nadine's death as an open homicide investigation. Detectives have made public appeals for information, asking anyone with any knowledge of the case to come forward. Crime Stoppers is offering a reward of up to $1,000 for tips that could shed light on what happened and who is responsible. For Nadine's family, her foster daughters, and the wider Valley Centre community, the discovery of her remains brought long-awaited answers, but also renewed immense pain, as the search for justice is far from over. Nadine Jett meant far more than the properties at the centre of court filings or the legal battles that followed her disappearance. She was a healer, a foster mother who welcomed children from broken pasts and gave them a chance at futures defined by love instead of trauma. Her loss is mourned not only by the daughters she raised, but also by a community she touched with her kindness and strength. Nadine's remains have been found, but her story is far from over. Questions still linger. Who betrayed her trust? Who knows more than they are saying? And will the truth ever fully come out? As the case moves forward, one thing is certain: Nadine's name will not be forgotten. But what do you think? Is justice closer than it seems? Or is this a mystery that may never be solved? Share your theories in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Take care and thank you for watching.